is River, and I'm here to share my story of how I overcame my chronic fatigue. So basically, it all started with me feeling really tired after traveling internationally. Like I'd go overseas, come back, and I'd be like, oh, I'm so jet lagged. And for some people, maybe that would last a few days. For me, it was more like a couple weeks. And I traveled a lot since I turned 12. Like almost every summer, I was going somewhere really far and coming back. And every time I did that, it just got longer and longer and longer until I spent like a gap year in Africa and China. And when I came home from that, for months, I was laid up in bed and I couldn't do anything at all. I actually had like a little side gig for the summer, and I would get out of bed, go to my job for like 4 hours, and then come back home and go right back to bed. And I was just so incredibly fatigued, and I would sleep or I would lay, and that was it. And that was right before I went to college. So I remember laying in the bed as my mom packed all my bags for college, asking me, do you want to bring this or do you want to bring that? Because I couldn't even just sit up to pack my bags because I just felt so terrible. It was bad. So then I went to college, and this kind of come and went with intensity, but I kind of recovered from that. But being in nursing school did not help. The stress of nursing school, the rigor, the emotional fatigue, crazy schedules, waking up really early for this clinical, but then maybe having a really late evening clinical for a different class, it didn't help. So it got to the point where near the end of nursing school, I had to sleep 12 hours a night. And if I didn't get 12 hours, I only got 10, then I'd have to plan in between these two classes, I'm gonna take a 2-hour long nap to make up for it because I needed it that badly just to exist. And so that was pretty bad. So I tried going gluten-free because my mom was gluten-free at the time. I cut out my nightly ramen noodle snack and the pizza from the cafeteria and just had rice instead or something. And that helped a little bit, but I was still sleeping a lot. So I found this drink called Reed's Elixir, and it was like this purple can in like the healthy smoothie shop at school. And it was basically like green tea, ginseng, and B vitamins. And that thing kept me alive. Like I would just always have one of those to sip on just to keep my brain on so that I could stay awake during class, or so that I could stay awake during a clinical, and basically kept me alive. But I felt really discouraged. I was like, what is wrong with me? And I went to the doctor and I took a bunch of tests, and they were very expensive, and they were like, you're healthy, you look great. So great. And I talked to my mom about it, and I remember over the phone saying well, River, maybe this is just the way you are. Maybe you just need more sleep than some people, My gram is one of those people. She sleeps a lot, and she always has. And maybe that's just the way I am. I just need more sleep. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe. So I kind of accepted that maybe this was just a part of my life that I just have to, live with it. And so then I graduated from college and got my first job. And it was a very rigorous hospital job on a hospital floor. It was really intense. It was on a respiratory unit with ventilators, and I could talk about that some other time, but it was really intense, and I was very slow to pick up everything, and I now realize how foggy headed I really was. It was so difficult for me to focus or to remember what they were telling me, or how was the particular protocol with this paperwork or that paperwork, or logistical things like that. Multitasking with multiple patients, it was I couldn't do it. So I left and I went to a more less acute setting that was more chill with was a little bit less intense, and I was able to do that. I was able to sit more, which was good for me. I just came out of college, I'm young, but I need to sit, and why is that, But, I did it, so I changed jobs, and then I was getting married. Wonderful. And because I was getting married, I decided, my parents had been pushing me to get Accutane for a long time for my skin, and I was like, no, I don't want all those strong drugs. That's just not for me. But I was like, well, it is my wedding. We have these pictures only once in our lives. So I went on Accutane. And actually, I felt a little bit more normal during that time. And my skin did clear up and crack and bleed. But, I'll talk about that. I could do a whole other video about that too. But anyways, so I did that. And I also tried some AIP, autoimmune protocol stuff. And through that, I learned that when I cut out tomatoes, potatoes, and peppers, that I couldn't tell the difference, but once I added them back in, I was like, I just took a Benadryl. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired. So I realized I probably have sensitivity to nightshade vegetables, but I was still exhausted all the time and very foggy-headed and very slow. And I was luckily working in a job where I could work more slowly, that it wasn't a huge number of patients, but yeah, it was really hard. And then got married, the best day of my life, except for every day after. And immediately after we got married and we went on our honeymoon, I was like, I'm done with this Accutane stuff. I did it for the pictures and now I'm done. And so I threw out the rest and bam, it was just immediate, horrible, incredible fatigue, which I was sleepy and happy because I was married and we're in Colorado, so it was beautiful, but I was so fatigued. I slept so much. And it was beyond just I had a big wedding and now I'm tired. I was so tired the whole time. Even just going on a short walk, we took a very flat one and it was very short and we had to stop and sit and admire the view very often because I was just so tired. If you are relating to this and you like it, push the like button. And if you want to hear more stories about things I've overcome, then press subscribe. Anyways, so yeah, it was intense. So we started our new life together. We got our first apartment. It was great. I was still working the same job, and I had a friend of a friend who had similar issues to me. My sister's friend had similar issues. And she would also stand up and then fall back down and black out, which happened to me a lot. And she went to this particular doctor. They gave her some antidepressants and said that it really helped her. And it wasn't necessarily that she had depression, but that something about the antidepressants helped with her fatigue and fainting thing. So I was like, well, I've tried everything else and it didn't really work, so I'll try this. I am not a medication person, but I will try it since, it worked for you. So I drove super far to this doctor and looked at all my labs, yep, all your labs are fine, you look healthy, everything is fine, your thyroid is fine, everything is fine. But, you're still experiencing this, so I tried this for my other patient, my acquaintance, and so sure, here you go, here's some antidepressants. So I took those for a while, and it didn't do diddly squat, nothing. So that didn't help at all. And I was like, why am I taking these pharmaceutical pills that are not helping me? So that was out the window. And I just ran out of options. And then I found this book. And this book changed my life. It's technically about gut and psychology syndrome by Dr. Natasha Campbell-McBride. It was originally written for kids with ADHD. Right on the cover is autism, dyslexia, depression, schizophrenia, and more psychological issues. But I had actually bought this book about a year prior, and it sat on my shelf, and I had this knowing feeling that if I read it, that everything would be different afterwards, and I'd have to be willing to actually do whatever it said. I don't know how I knew this, but yeah, so I read it, and since then she's written another book which talks about physiology, which is not just psychological problems, but physical issues that includes chronic fatigue and stuff, and that's great. But I just had this one, and it changed my life, man. It changed my life. So now I don't have chronic fatigue. I sleep 7 or 8 hours a night, and then I wake up and then I feel great. Right now I'm pregnant, so sometimes I'm a little sleepy, but beyond that, I feel awesome. And I'm so clear-headed. Before, I used to leave my purse, my keys, and my wallet everywhere that I went. And everywhere I would go with my husband, every time we would leave a coffee shop, a grocery store, the car, our house, he'd be like, purse, keys, wallet, purse, keys, wallet. And every single time I'd be like, oh, I don't have it, and go back to the house. And I would get my purse, and then I would come back and be like, do you have your wallet though? And I'd be like, oh no. And then I would go back, and I would do it 3 times. Every single time that I left the house. Every single time. There was not one time that I left the house with all of those 3 things. And I felt like I was going crazy. And we got these tile things to put on my keys because I lost them everywhere, which really helped. But now I don't even need that. I haven't lost my purse, my keys, or my wallet, or left them accidentally. I can't even remember when. So yeah. And this was the answer. Gut and Psychology, Gut and Physiology Syndrome by Dr. Natasha Campbell-McBride. Changed my life. So if you want to hear more about that and about gut health and how it can affect your brain and chronic fatigue, then let me know. Ask questions in the comments below, and I'd love to share more. You can check out my website, and here you can see where I wrote my story, and you can check out my gut health video if you would like to see what is physiologically going on in there that is connected to here. It's very cool. Anyway, that's my story. Yeah. If you like this story, click subscribe. I've got plenty more.